I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly, but fires have been started, and there's a crowd there.
I have never seen anything like this. The building's beginning to collapse. The building is collapsing. The building just exploded. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so hot. It's so hot. We have to back up. I've never seen anything like this. We are the closest camera.
There were some police who went onto the roof of that building and fired tear gas canisters and noise guns, flashbangs, lights that make a lot of noise and disperse the crowd.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Yo. 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 They called them niggas in, bro. Oh, no.
From the White House or the Attorney General right now. No one wants to hear from the man who wanted the death penalty to come back from the Central Park Five. No one wants to hear from the man who says that the former president was not born in this country. No one wants to hear from the man who says there are very fine people on both sides.
Putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
On both sides, so you said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame, yes. I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
No one wants to hear from the birther-in-chief, from the sons of bitches calling person who says that athletes who are kneeling for this very reason. No one wants to hear from that.
I love CNN. I love Cartoon Network. But I'd like to say to CNN right now, karma's a mother. Stop feeding fear and anger every day. Stop making people feel so fearful. Give them hope.
Does she need help? I don't care. Does she need out of that car? Get her out of that car right now! Huh?
License plate number
EE740.
EV740.
Take that whole thing. Let's go, babe. Babe. She just got kidnapped in front of us. She just got kidnapped in front of us. She just got fucking kidnapped. What the fuck?
I will tell you that earlier in the day, I think around noon, is when I first got word that this was the plan. From a source told me that this was the plan, was to evacuate the 5th precinct. I'm not sure when those officers...
Whoa, go back there, Jen. You heard today that the police were thinking of abandoning the 3rd precinct?
Yes.
Early on? Sure what time did you hear that?
Left around noon today. And I'm not sure when they actually left, but that
The press release says they left at 10 p.m.
Yes. So we're hearing earlier in the day from sources that they were going to engulf, continuing that fire to grow.
So wait, what's the rationale for leaving? At noon today, why are they thinking we're going to leave?
I'm not sure, Frank. The only word I got from sources was that the order was that officers would leave the 3rd precinct. Again, there was no timeline given to me earlier in the day, just that
eventually they would.
That eventually they would.
Well, that needs, obviously, we'll do a lot of follow-up on that. And I don't know if you heard the conversation we had with Pat in terms of chain of command, leadership, orders, lack of communication. But, I mean, that's a big deal, because if you're going to leave, it's a symbol of everything some people are upset about, right? I mean, what do you expect to happen if you leave the building?
Right, and I'm not, again, there are many reasons that could have been the case, and I'm not going to speculate on that tonight. But
yeah, and I'm not asking you to.
That could have happened, but as I'm told from sources, the order came down earlier today that at some point officers would be evacuating the 3rd precinct.
Wow.
That's interesting, because when we got the update, or the statement, rather, it was at 10 o'clock tonight. Well, they said that they evacuated at 10 o'clock tonight.
The 3rd precinct here. There are fires burning to the left of it at the wine and liquor store on your left. But back in the back of the precinct, you're hearing people throwing things against the walls, against the glass, and against anything they can. And now the fire alarm, you'll see it flashing inside of the 3rd precinct. Behind the 3rd precinct, just behind it, is a fire that is billowing and has been going for a few minutes now, really strongly. But you hear people cheering every time they get through one of the windows there with whatever it is they're throwing. It sounds like they're throwing. There is now a person who, excuse me, sir, there is now a person who is going and trying to get physically into the 3rd precinct there at the bottom of the precinct. Now, at the very top of the precinct on the other side, there were police officers who were inside of that. The fires are getting closer and closer and closer to the 3rd precinct. That is the wine and spirit store, the Minnehaha wine and spirit store here. That is on fire on the other side. But you're also seeing now smoke billowing from inside of the 3rd. So we're not sure of the status of how many officers are still inside or if they have evacuated yet. But we do know that just earlier there were officers standing on top of that roof, about 5 or 6 of them, who were throwing down all manner of things to try to separate the protesters. But now you are actually seeing smoke that is coming out of the 3rd precinct.
Sarah, where are the police?
You see the fire. We don't know. We are not seeing police out here right now. We have been seeing them standing on the top of the 3rd precinct. That's where they have been throwing things down, trying to keep people from breaching. But now there are no police. There is no police presence. And Josh talked about that earlier. The police presence has gone to 0 at this point here outside of the 3rd precinct. We're watching it go up in flames right now. I just wanted you to hear the sound of people cheering as the 3rd precinct appears to be on fire at this time. Excuse me. The 3rd precinct seems to be on fire at this time with people who are now starting to go closer and closer to that precinct.
Stand by.
We do not know at this time where the police are.
I just want to, from my vantage point, who's inside of that building? Personnel, staff, people who may be in lockup or what have you. We would certainly hope that they are safe and out of that building. But these actions should not be happening. Okay? Again, understand the anger, not the actions. This should not be happening. A police precinct should not be going up in flames, up in smoke. Businesses should not be as well. People should not be cheering. But here we are. This is what is happening. This is what is playing out live for you on your screen, America, on live television on CNN. A community that is fed up. We're hearing, I'm not sure if it's gunshots, if it's flashbang, or fireworks, or what have you. Let's get back now to the scene, to my folks who are on the scene. You can see the sign there that says Minneapolis Police, okay? So you know it is a police department.
Okay, so those are absolutely not gunshots. Those are fireworks being fired off by the protesters. We are watching them being fired off directly in front of me. All of those sparkling lights that you see overhead, if you can see that, that is from fireworks. But we are definitely now seeing a fully on fire 3rd precinct here. That is clearly what's happening there. There have been boards that have been put up outside of the 3rd precinct, and those boards are on fire, but it looks like the fire has gotten even bigger at this point in time, and you can see protesters so close to the fire that they are getting hit with sparks from the fire coming off of that building. So that is what's going on right now. It is official that the building is on fire, the 3rd precinct is on fire. We do not know where the police are. We see the Minnehaha Liquors, that is on fire on the other side of the street. We see a fire behind the precinct. We also see protesters throwing fireworks at the precinct, and the fire alarm is going on inside of the precinct. This is a scene that has completely changed from earlier today when things were peaceful, Don. People cheering and more fireworks going off as literally the police precinct is burning.
Yeah, Don, I'm going to take this mask off a second so you can hear me. The police here have made a calculated decision that they're not going to enforce what we're seeing behind us. There's fire that's being set to the police department. As you can hear, that's going on around us. There are fireworks going off, people climbing on the side of the building. They've made the decision that they're not going to stop people from doing that. And I think the reason is they know that any type of police presence here is going to be met with aggression and agitation by this crowd that is clearly unhappy. I can tell you, we were just 3 blocks away at a financial institution that was on fire. The fire department was there. They were keeping a distance. They were not moving in to fight this fire. Again, not wanting to put themselves in jeopardy or in danger with this crowd that's clearly agitated. This is beyond what we saw there earlier. We have a fire burning. You have people climbing on the building, shooting what looks like fireworks and rockets at the building. We looked inside the windows. You don't see police officers there. So I think what would likely happen here is the majority of officers who are at this location have probably left for their own safety. There might be a team that's still left behind. We saw people on the roof earlier, but I think, Don, what we're going to see is they're going to let this building burn. You're not going to see officers coming in. They know that the decision right now is you lose a building or you lose lives potentially. That's the calculation that they're making right now.
So they're not going to try to control this fire. They're just going to let this burn, Josh? Is that what you believe the calculation is?
That's what. Yeah, Don, we've seen no indication that officers or fire department, and I'm scanning the crowd here because there's a lot going on, we've seen no indication that they're trying to either fight the fire or enforce the criminal activity going behind.
There's no siren at all, so there's no fire department coming. Last night, 3 or 4 showed up when the AutoZone was on fire. This is definitely, as Josh said, a calculated decision. Not a single fire truck is here.
Right on. It appears that the police department, they must be outmanned in order for it to get to this point. I know that they had asked, at least in St. Paul, for the National Guard to come and help. So apparently the department is not big enough to handle this, or not equipped to handle these sorts of demonstrations. Is that what we're seeing playing out here, Josh?
Yeah, Don, if you think about what a police precinct is, this isn't where the police officers hang out all day. This is certainly the headquarters for this area, but police officers are dispersed. They're out patrolling the community, so you don't typically have a large presence of people inside a facility like this to begin with. You look at the crowd, there are hundreds and hundreds of people here, cars lined up, it looks like still trying to get to this location, clearly outmanned. I don't know if they had an influx of officers throughout the city that they would be able to control this crowd right now in any successful way. It's just there's too much going on here right now. But again, you go back to what is actually inflaming this situation. It's people that are angry with the actions of the police. So if you had that infusion of officers here right now, trying to push these people back, trying to conduct arrests, I think they know that this would turn dangerous and deadly very quickly, not only for the officers, but also obviously for the people that are here in the community. This is one of those situations that's not easy to control. If it were easy, this would be resolved already right now. But I assume that the police chief right now, police officials are making that determination that they're not bringing in the crowd control. They're not bringing in the riot police. They're going to, lose a piece of property here, it looks like, as this fire continues to move out. But they're not wanting to obviously inflame the situation even more. Not that they could, Don, even if they had enough officers, because Sarah and I, as we stand here, are just surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of people.
Earlier this evening, after receiving real-time information from our Chief Arredondo, and after having numerous phone calls with him regarding the evolving situation at the 3rd Precinct, it became clear that there were imminent threats to both officers and public. And the danger became necessary, and I made the decision to evacuate the 3rd Precinct. The symbolism of a building cannot outweigh the importance of life, of our officers, or the public. We could not risk serious injury to anyone. And we will continue to patrol the 3rd Precinct entirely. We will continue to do our jobs in that area. Brick and mortar is not as important as life.
What's your response to President Trump's tweets saying that looters should be shot? Have you seen the president's tweets?
No, I have not. Can you?
I'd have to bring it up here to quote it exactly. Does anybody else have that up here?
Mayor, what's the plan here? What are we doing?
With regard to?
Clearing the streets. A lot of businesses have been burned down. A lot of livelihoods have been hurt. We've seen very little police out there just in general at the 3rd and throughout. And I'm just wondering, what is the plan and who is in charge right now in this city?
There is a lot of pain and anger right now in our city. I understand that. Our entire city recognizes that. What we have seen over the past several hours and the past couple of nights in terms of looting is unacceptable. Our communities cannot and will not tolerate it. These are businesses, these are community institutions that we need. These are banks that people rely on to get cash, grocery stores that people rely on to get food. These are pharmacies that people rely on to get medicine. They are essential to our community, and we need to make sure that they are protected. And so we are working with our officers right now. We are working, of course, with resources provided by the state. We've authorized mutual aid and a unified strategy so that we can work with different jurisdictions in the area. It was clear as of last night that we needed additional help. And we got that additional help, some from the state, and we are expecting more as well. I'll say this. We additionally need help from our community. We need to make sure that people are looking out for our city right now. It's not just enough to do the right thing yourself. We need to be making sure that all of us are held accountable to make sure that we're holding up the highest ideals that we stand by.
I have
Mr. Mayor, there were people out there tonight that were saying things like, where are the police right now? Where are the firefighters right now? Where's the National Guard right now? Those are all fair questions. Where were the police, firefighters, and National Guard to protect that 3rd precinct and to protect that neighborhood?
As you already know, there were more than a few fires that our firefighters had to put out. There were more than a few incidents of looting that our officers had to attend to. We are doing absolutely everything that we can to keep the peace. We have officers that are stationed around the city in several different locations. We have, in many instances, assistance from the state to prevent looting at some of these community institutions that we know will be necessary to get through this pandemic. This is one of the most difficult situations that our city has been through. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that there are easy answers to it, because there are not. What I can tell you is that through this pandemic, Chief Arredondo has my 100% support. Chief Friedel and the fire department has my 100% support. We're going to be united as a city.
So where is the National Guard and how is it being deployed? Who's got that control? Who's making those calls?
So many of these questions you're going to want to direct to our chief, who has been working consistently with Harrington from the state. And many of the National Guard, as I mentioned, were stationed and are being stationed in locations to help prevent some of the looting that we've seen.
Like what? Like what station?
Banks, grocery stores, pharmacies.
Mayor, I have the president's tweet here. He sent out two just in the last couple hours. One personally attacking you. A second one that
Can you read it?
Just spoke to Governor Tim Walz, and I told him that the military is with him all the way. Any difficulty, and we will assume control. But when the looting starts, the shooting starts. This is the President of the United States tweeting just a little bit ago. What's your reaction to that?
What was the other tweet?
There was an earlier one calling you a radical leftist and a weak mayor, and to get things under control. And I have it here. I can't stand back and watch this happen to a great American city. A total lack of leadership, says the president. Either the very weak radical left Mayor Jacob Frey get his act together and bring the city under control, or I will send in the National Guard and get the job done right. That was the first of the two tweets from the president.
Well, let me say this. Weakness is refusing to take responsibility for your own actions. Weakness is pointing your finger at somebody else during a time of crisis. Donald Trump knows nothing about the strength of Minneapolis. We are strong as hell. Is this a difficult time period? Yes, but you better be damn sure that we're gonna get through this.
Mayor, some people have questioned whether you made a conscious decision to let people go into the 3rd precinct and offer it up as kind of one of these healing spots that you had referenced earlier in the day. Is that how you were approaching it?
No. The decision that I made was for the safety of our officers and the safety of the public. The symbolism of a building cannot outweigh the importance of life. It's a decision that I did not take lightly. I understand the importance of a precinct, but we are able to regroup and continue providing the same service to the 3rd precinct as a geography.
Mayor, at what point did you make that decision?
I don't remember the exact time.
Was it earlier in the afternoon or just a couple hours before the statement?
As situations started to escalate more and more, as we saw more and more people breach the perimeter, as we noted, we have to have our officers at many locations throughout the city to prevent looting and crime. It became obvious to me that safety was at risk. And it became obvious to me that we could take a different route that would better assist both the public as well as the safety of our police officers.
Mayor, any idea how many officers were in that building when it was breached?
I think you have to talk to the chief.
And 2, is there a calculus in terms of property versus engaging protesters or being more overt with force? Is there a decision-making process in terms of building versus engagement?
I don't understand your question.
I mean, you have a decision to make whether the building, the 3rd precinct in general, some of those businesses on that corner should just be let go, no police responding to it, or do you engage the protesters and clear them off the streets by, any means necessary, the tools that are at your disposal in terms of a heavily tooled urban police force that I would imagine have the tools to clear the streets.
Yeah, I'm still not following. The decision comes down to public safety, period.
What do you tell the public?
I'm going to take one more question, yeah.
So what do you tell the public in that community that doesn't have that precinct to work from to help protect the other homes or other businesses?
The resources that we will offer to the people of the 3rd precinct will continue, period. The building is just bricks and mortar. It's a building.
What if it does get worse? You talked about the community needs to help, but what if they don't? What is that plan to address that?
I've been in touch with Governor Walz at the state. Again, we have expressed the need for resources. We are appreciative already of the assistance that we've gotten in the form of state patrols, and as you know, we've requested the National Guard as well. And we anticipate that those resources will be increasing as well.
Mr. Mayor, everybody, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Right now, give us a second, guys. We can move back to where you'd like. We can move back to where you'd like here. We are live on the air at the moment. This is the 4 of us. We are one team. Just put us back where you want us. We are getting out of your way, so just let us know. Wherever you'd want us, we will go. We are just getting out of your way when you were advancing through the intersection. So just let us know, and we got you. And this is a scene here playing out in Minneapolis. This is part of the advanced police presence that we saw come over the course of of really minutes when the local police showed up at the fire department, or with the fire department, I should say, on that building we showed you that was burning. This is among the State Patrol unit that was advancing up the street, saying and scattering the protesters at that point for people to clear the area. And so we walked away. I'm sorry?
You're under arrest.
Okay. Do you mind telling me why I'm under arrest, sir? Why am I under arrest, sir?
Officer, CNN, he's on the air right now. I'm here with CNN.
Okay.
You are arresting him live on CNN. We told you before that we are with CNN.
If you're just tuning in, you are watching our correspondent, Omar Jimenez, being arrested by state police in Minnesota. We're not sure why our correspondent is being arrested.
Hang on one second, Allison. Let's listen into what these officers are saying. That is an American television reporter, Omar Jimenez, being led away by police officers. He clearly identified himself as a reporter. He was respectfully explaining to the state police that our CNN team was there and moving away as they would request. And then for some reason, he was just taken in to police custody live on television. I'm sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you, Allison. I just wanted to listen to see if we could hear more from the officers, the state police, as this is going on.
Yeah. We're trying to see what's going to happen, John, obviously, to the rest.
I'm about there, guys. We were just out here reporting the closure of the streets. They just, Omar was just arrested. I believe they're about to, we're all about to be arrested. That's our producer.
Our CNN producer is being...
I'm probably going to be taken in a minute.
Our CNN camera crew and our producer are being arrested right now on live television in handcuffs.
I've never seen anything like this.
Why, guys,
Allison.
Why are you arresting us? We're just passing along the message, your message. I'm done, we're just out here doing our job as well as you all.
We can do that.
Can you tell me what are...
Are you under arrest?
Okay. I'm being arrested now. I gotta put, can I put the camera down?
If you're just tuning in, this is our camera crew, our CNN camera crew, being arrested by the Minneapolis State Police. We believe the camera is now on the ground because our cameraman has been handcuffed. Our correspondent, Omar Jimenez, was also led away in handcuffs, as was his producer. They were standing where they were told to stand previously by police. They were out of the way. We don't know why they're being arrested. They're not being given any explanation, as far as we can hear, for why they're being arrested. We don't know why they're being handcuffed and led away. They are allowed to be reporting on the unrest that's happening right now, but for some reason, the state police have decided that they need to be under arrest.
And just to be clear, Allison, having been in the middle of protests like this, I've never seen anything like this. I have never seen anything like this. The camera is being walked away now. I don't know if this camera is still in the hands of our photojournalist or whether the police officer, yeah, this is the police carrying our camera right now, frankly not aware that it's still rolling. We have been listening in, and our team there has not been given any explanation for why they have been taken into custody. And I just want to be clear, if you were watching what Omar was saying and listening to his reporting, he was explaining what had happened over the last few hours and how law enforcement was arriving on the scene and how they had dispersed the crowds largely and how for the first time there was order in the scene. Nevertheless, taken into custody. Our camera now on the ground, still rolling, still capturing these live images. We're going to keep on listening to this camera. Josh Campbell, who I believe is not yet under arrest. Hang on one second. All right. The police are now saying they're being arrested because they were told to move and didn't. Now, we were on the air the whole time. Lionel, our photographer, who still has communications with us, told us they had been arrested because they were told to move and didn't. If you were watching, you can see our team was very respectful to the law enforcement presence as it moved through the area. You know, Van, as both of you have been talking, I'm struck, and I remember the words of Angela Davis, who says, you know, it's not enough to be non-racist, you have to be anti-racist. And there is a difference there, and it sounds like that's what you guys are both talking about right now.
That's the point. People tell you. I just want to say, this is not racist.
Go ahead, Van.
This is the key. When somebody says to you, "I'm not racist. I don't see color. I've never." But my goodness, you run the other way. Run the other way, because that is the sign of a person who's never seriously engaged with the fact that we all see color. It would be like saying, I live in the ocean and I've never gotten wet. The level of anti-Black bigotry and anti-Black hostility and anti-Black assumption is so thick in this country that to pretend it's not affecting you is to deny the entire reality of Black existence. To say, I don't see color, is to say, I don't see when I look at you that you have dark skin. And I don't imagine for myself what that means. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you, you're lying to yourself if you believe that. It's not true. You can do psychological studies. People in this country are triggered by race. Hell, I'm triggered. When I walk down the street, if I see a Black person and it's me in the mirror, I give it a second look, because I've been primed by this society to suspect Black people. So when a white person tells me that they don't see color, I want to run the other way, because I know I'm in a conversation with somebody who's at least lying to themselves if they're not lying to me. And so it's not good enough to be non-racist. You have to be anti-racist. You have to be engaging in this conversation. You have to be talking to people of color and asking them, how do you feel? And if we get hot, if we get mad, if we say, you know what, if our voice goes up, don't lecture us about how we're supposed to educate you about stuff you should have educated yourself about a long time ago. We are tired. When Van Jones sounds like this, it gives you a sense of where we're at this point. We saw a lynching. That was a lynching. You saw a lynching. You were walking down the street, you opened up your phone, and it flattened you. And it should flatten you. It shows you have a heart. It shows you have a pulse. It shows that you care. But caring and engaging and helping to fix it, not with some cop you never met, but in your own workplace, in your own neighborhood, where somebody walks through your neighborhood watch says, hey, we have a thug here. And it could be a college student, it could be a NASA astronaut, or it could be a thug. You have no idea. All you know, it's a Black person. And you don't call your neighbors out, and you don't call a community meeting, and you don't defend that child as if it were your own. You're a part of the problem. And then when this happens, you say, well, I don't see race. Well, that's part of the problem. There's another reality here that you're starting to see. So even the most liberal, well-intentioned white person has a virus in his or her brain that can be activated at an instant. And so what you're seeing now is a curtain falling away. Look in the mirror at how you choke off Black opportunity, how you choke off Black dignity, how you behave. People are now fed up People are telling me they're tired of hashtags. It's not the racist white person who's in the Ku Klux Klan that we have to worry about. And James Baldwin said it best. White people in these situations are always innocent. Oh my God, I can't believe this. Teach me, educate me, help me understand. How did this happen? Talk to me, tell me something, tell me what to do. White people are always innocent, and their innocence constitutes their crime. It is too late to be innocent.
These demonstrators came here ready to confront the police. They began throwing objects at CNN Center, breaking windows. If you could pan over to see what they've left behind as that police presence pushed those demonstrators past CNN Center, this is what they left behind. Graffiti, some profanity. I'm sorry about that, showing that live, but it's just this is what's really happened out here, Anderson. They've graffitied those CNN red letters, broken windows out. This is where they were, and as you can see happening live in front of us, if you want to pan back down there, William, another demonstrator is being taken into custody. Anderson, we've witnessed at least 6 people. This is the 7th person that we've seen with our own eyes taken into custody. These objects were thrown with aggression at the police. We did see at one point tear gas, what we believe was tear gas, fired at the demonstrators as they've been pushed back towards the main intersection. If you're familiar with downtown Atlanta, that is right at the main intersection of Centennial and Ted Turner. And I want to pan to the left here, William, if you can, because we're seeing dozens of heavily armed in tactical gear Atlanta police. It seems as though from the state police, rather, Anderson, coming in, flanked by others with tactical gear. I'm sorry, I'm a little breathless. This is really something to see here, Anderson. You're familiar with Atlanta. You spent a lot of time down here. This is nothing that I've ever seen happen. You know, even prior to coming down here, you know, there was hope as an Atlanta resident. This is a place that has really missed out on a lot of the violence throughout the years, especially in 2015 with that rash of police shootings against African-American men. There were demonstrations here, but nothing that turned violent, certainly nothing like this. Hey, I'm sorry, officer, can you just, thank you so much. I know you guys are doing your job, keeping us safe. Anderson, for our viewers out there, we are, from a vantage point, we're behind the Atlanta police line. Go ahead, Anderson.
Yeah, Nick, if you can just give a sense, it's always hard to tell sort of how many people are involved in this, how large this is. Do you have any sense of, obviously with the crowd, it's hard to tell, of crowd size? Because we can see some people obviously in the background, and obviously we see those police, armored vehicles and in tactical gear as well. Do you have a sense of the scope of this?
Yeah, we hate to estimate on numbers, you know. We hate to do that without talking to the police, but just from, an educated guess, Anderson, there's over 1,000, perhaps even more than that. Some people are wearing masks. We have the coronavirus happening right now. The pandemic that hasn't gone away. And you really don't know if those that have showed up are wearing masks because they're afraid of the virus or because they want to conceal their identity while they're confronting law enforcement. We have seen a lot of patience on the side of law enforcement so far here in Atlanta. They were trying to reason with the demonstrators, and again, as I mentioned, it's within the last 30 minutes that those individuals began throwing rocks at CNN Center, breaking those windows, and that's when police made the decision to decide to advance. That wasn't welcomed, obviously, by those that came here to demonstrate. Go ahead.
And Nick, the vehicle that's on fire, it looks like it's a police vehicle. Was that, obviously, I assume, somebody threw an incendiary device? or you know, Molotov cocktail, something like that?
All we saw was we saw black smoke starting to come up. You know, right before we came on air with you, it just started right before this live shot. We don't know what they did to set that on fire, but you know, right before that, Anderson, they were breaking out the windows of a police cruiser. All those cars had been parked there as a way, I assume, to act as a barricade to flank the demonstrators that were outside of CINN Center. We don't know what caused that police vehicle to go up in flames, but it's on fire now, and of course, I'm sure there's concerns about it exploding. We're far away enough from here, but it's still, you know, this is terrible to witness. It's terrible to witness, Anderson.
Police can do better. I'm here for change. We've heard the chants of no justice, no peace. Another large object just thrown there at CNN. This is our home, Chris, you know. This is where we come to work every day. Journalists who are trying to tell the truth, trying to deliver information. It's one of the noble parts about society, and these demonstrators have decided to come here today to take out their frustration and their anger, not just on the police, but it seems on our CINN Center as well.
In this city, officers have done horrendous things and they have been prosecuted. This city's cut different. In this city, you can find over 50 restaurants owned by black women. I didn't say minority, and I didn't say women of color. So after you burn down your own home, what do you have left but char and ash? CNN, Ted did a great thing. I love CNN, I love Cartoon Network, but I'd like to say to CNN right now, karma's a mother. Stop feeding fear and anger every day. Stop making people feel so fearful. Give them hope. I'm glad they only took down a sign and defaced a building and they're not killing human beings like that policeman did. I'm glad that they only destroyed some brick and mortar and they didn't rip a father from a son. They didn't rip a son from a mother like the policeman did. When a man yells for his mother in duress and pain and she's dead, he is essentially yelling, please God, don't let it happen to me. And we watch that. So my question for us on the other side of this camera is, after it burns, will we be left with charred, or will we rise like a phoenix out of the ashes that Atlanta has always done? Will we use this as a moment to say that we will not do what other cities have done, and in fact, we will get better than we've been? We got good enough to destroy cash bonds. You don't have to worry about going to jail for something petty. We got smart enough to decriminalize marijuana. How smart are we going to be in the next 15 or 20 years to keep us ahead of this curve? So that much like when South Africa suffered apartheid, you had Andy and other politicians that could make sure that Atlanta said, Coca-Cola, we love you, but if you don't pull out of South Africa, we're going to leave. We're not going to drink Coca-Cola anymore. Coca-Cola jumped on their side and apartheid ended. So we have an opportunity now. Because I'm mad, I don't have any good advice. But what I can tell you is that if you sit in your homes tonight, instead of burning your home to the ground, you will have time to properly plot, plan, strategize, and organize and mobilize in an effective way. And two of the most effective ways is first taking your butt to the computer and making sure you fill out your census so that people know who.
Bridge here. There is not a mother, sister, friend, or brother who loves the ways that Jesus His love for me, when he died on Calvary, he gave his life for fallen man.
It seems like that people were very prepared.
Right now, we're behind the line.
Okay.
Okay, well, you keep going and go where you got to go, and that's fine with us.
Okay.
We got plenty of time here.
Are you okay?
I'm getting shot. I'm getting...
Katie, are you okay?
Rubber bullets. It's okay. It's those pepper bullets. bullets.
Who are they aiming that at?
They're shooting at the photographer.
Us, like directly at us. Directly.
Why are they doing that?
They're shooting at our crew.
Do they not know that? Obviously, they see the camera.
Right.
An emergency has been declared in the area. You are ordered to immediately leave. If you remain, regardless of your be in violation of Columbus City Code and the Ohio Revised Code, and police will remove you from the area. Crowd control devices and chemical agents may be deployed to move you from this area, and you are subject to being arrested and prosecuted. You must leave the area now. You cannot return until the emergency has ceased. You must leave the area now.
Yo, come to feed nigga. I'm hungry, nigga. Let me go home, nigga.
Oh my God, this nigga big as hell. That nigga had food in that bag. In that bag, that nigga had food in that bag. That nigga killed it, folks. This nigga took 30 breaks in 10 minutes, bro.
Look at that. Just back, bro. You can't even fit in the frame, bro.
God damn.
Look at him. Folks, that's a hungry hippo. Look
oh my God, this nigga is huge, bro. This guy is huge.
Look at this big ass, nigga.
Hold on, bro.
Yo.
This nigga is so red, bro.
This man's laughing at him.
Oh, why you laughing, bro? Stop laughing, bro. We've been out here, bro.
We gotta kick all the guys, nigga. Let's get the ass.
Oh, the Jakes is
Yo, she got the banana, nigga. Look at this shit.
Oh, that nigga. What the fuck? That's an old ass lady with the banana, bro.
Yo, that's the old ass lady with the banana, nigga.
Hell nah, bro.
Oh, shit, nigga.
Hell nah.
Shit, nigga.
Look at this nigga. This nigga's so wide down here, bro. He's so wide, bro. Look, his legs are. Oh my God, bro.
He got deep busted moves, nigga. He tied them bitches too hard, nigga. Let him breathe. You can't even move, bro. Let your feet breathe, bro.
Them bitches.
Damn, nigga, you like you been stepping on cigarettes all your life, boy. Them busted ass dudes, boy.
Damn.
Come on, young shit, nigga. Did it come on for the loss set?
Look at this. Somebody's little brother here, bro.
Yo.
Come here, bro.
Oh my God.
My little brother will beat your ass, bro, when y'all go back to school. Oh, get that. My guy Yang, Yang. My little brother will beat your ass, bro. No cap. When school open back up, nigga, my little brother knows school.
Don't fall.
Don't fall. Oh my God. Phone them got balance, folks. Phone them got balance. We literally out here, bro.
Yo, Yang, you.
Hell nah. That nigga took 3 steps back, bro. This nigga took 3 steps back and he only moved 2 inches, bro. Oh my. Motherfucker said, yo, gun taller than you. God damn.
Wait a minute. Yo, niggas think they safe. Niggas think they safe. We on your ass, too, boy. We on your ass, too, boy.
We on your ass, bro.
This nigga got the strongest chest in the world.
This nigga don't.
Why did the police let this short man join? Who the fuck is he gonna hurt? Look at this munchkin! Look at this baby ass bitch! You're so short! Look at this short guy!
Look, nigga, you little shield. Little shield, ass nigga. Little shield, ass nigga. You can't get the big shield.
Exactly I went. And the text message she sent me later on is she feared she would be another mother that lost a black son who quote unquote died in police custody. And that was the fear that was going through her mind. Even if for us, we felt that CNN would come and help us on the legal side, if we felt CNN would contact the governor's office to help us get out, which they did, there was a fear there, even just within my family, that I would not come out of that the same as how I went in, despite that happening live on national television. And these are the conversations that stories like this George Floyd story provoke. And what happened to us and our crew was almost, in some ways, a microcosm of the larger story that we're looking at here. Just because something happens on camera does not mean that it's going to be a positive outcome.
Workout. We've done several miles through downtown, and now we've exited off of 35W. It's not clear where they're going now. I want to give you a sense of sort of what it looks like. They've lost some of the protesters, but most have stuck with them. But it's now strung out a long way along 35W, and they are moving toward, it's not entirely clear, they may be moving toward the 5th precinct as well, which is where Sarah Seidner is heading to. And check this out. Turn around this way, Ken. And they have not only protesters walking now, but they have several cars that have sort of joined the protest as well. And it's now just sort of a merry caravan. It is worth pointing out that it has been entirely peaceful, sometimes angry, but entirely peaceful. A few people doing some graffiti. When others saw them doing the graffiti, they would shut them down. They would stop doing it. Bottle thrown, which is not uncommon. So there is some of that, but for the most part, they have been very, very peaceful. They haven't been destroying anything. They like to take it out of the media, as everybody does, but rather than yell at us and throw stuff at us, not in a mean way. And we'll be fine. It looks like we're probably coming toward the end of the number of people who are coming off the freeway now. I'm guessing they probably lost half of the protesters here in this long march along 35W to this exit.
Well, Miguel, we'd rather not have the foul language, but we will take that instead of property damage and fires and fighting.
Indeed.
Yes. So, and you're right. We're an easy target, but we can take it.
Fuck this nigga, man. Yo, I ain't gonna lie, I'm about to get out the car, yo.